Hello everyone, welcome to session 2 of module 3, Review Process. In this session we will learn about the review process. So reviews vary from informal to formal. There can be informal review which most of the time the testers and developers do, like peer reviews. They show their work to each other and take feedback. And then there can be formal review which follows the whole formal process to review any document. Formality of reviews depends on many factors like development maturity, legal and statutory requirements. So it depends. The formality that you want to follow for any review, it depends on factors like if your organization is follows the mature process, the process development process, and all the processes are in place, most of the time the review process will be formal. If it is not a very formal, a very mature development organization, then the formality of review may be less. So there'll be kind of informal quick reviews done for the documents. Then if you're developing some software or some project which is life critical or safety related, then there are some legal and statutory requirements to do the formal reviews before you can proceed with the development. So it depends on many factors. The formality of review depends on many different factors. Then formal review process consists of 6 main steps. So if you're following a formal review process, it has different steps that you need to follow, which we'll discuss further. Then informal reviews are the most common type of reviews because you don't need to spend much time, don't need to follow exact process. It's kind of, you just ask somebody to review a document or a piece of code. He came on your desk, reviewed it, and it's done. So informal reviews are very common part in the day-to-day activities of either software testers or developers in the IT organizations. Then informal reviews are not documented. So formal reviews are well documented, and every documentation is maintained for formal reviews, but informal reviews are not documented. So let's see what are the phases of a formal review. Formal review follows a formal process and it has 6 main steps. What are the main steps? The first step of formal review is planning. Second is kickoff. Third is preparation. Fourth is review meeting. Fifth is rework, and finally the follow-up. So these are the 6 main steps of a formal review process. So let's get started with these phases one by one. So first phase is planning. So what is done during the planning phase? We'll look into all the details. So planning process starts with request for review. So author submits the request for review to the moderator. Moderator is nobody, but moderator is a inspection leader. Whosoever is leading the review process is the moderator. So suppose you are an author of your test strategy or test plan, then most probably your test manager will be the moderator or inspection leader. So it depends. So the first step of the review process is the planning, and in planning, if you are author, you need to submit the request for review of your document to the moderator or whosoever the inspection leader is. Then moderator takes care of scheduling dates, time, place, invitation of the review. So it's moderator's responsibility to schedule the dates, time, who will be involved in the review, where will be the meeting. So all these things need to be taken care by the moderator. And moderator ensures that the document is ready to be reviewed. Okay, that is, document meets entry criteria. Before you can start the formal review process, it is very important that the document that you want to get reviewed has met the entry criteria. Entry criteria is nothing but a criteria set which says that your document is complete or is in a state that it can be reviewed. So suppose you are documenting a test plan, or you are documenting, so like business analysts are documenting the requirements document. So all the requirements have to be gathered initially, clarified properly with the stakeholders, and there will be a set criteria, entry criteria defined for the review, which will ensure that the document that is going into the review has met that entry criteria. Then select how many pages to review. So in planning phase, selection of number of pages to review is also done. So suppose today in this meeting we'll be reviewing 5 pages of this document. So selection of pages is also made in the planning phase. Then assigning who will play what roles in the review meetings. So assignment of the roles is also taken care in planning phase. Then identifying the exit criteria for review. So as the entry criteria, you need to also finalize what will be the exit criteria, what will be the outcome on, and when you will say that review has been completed and you can exit that. So you also identify the exit criteria in the planning phase. And then scheduling the later stages of the review. So after the exit criteria, there may be a requirement for further review stages. So scheduling the later stages of the review is also taken care in the planning phase. Then the next phase is kickoff. So in kickoff, this is an optional step in the review procedure. If you want, you can go ahead with kickoff meeting, but it is optional. But if you are following a very formal review approach, then it is kind of mandatory to have a kickoff meeting. Then what happens in kickoff is an initial meeting to ensure that everyone is at the same level regarding the document to be reviewed. So it is important to have a kickoff meeting with other people that will be involved in review process, because in kickoff meeting you ensure that everyone understands the document that needs to be reviewed in further phases. Then a short introduction about objectives of review and the document is given in this meeting. So in kickoff, introduction about the document and what objectives you want to achieve for that review is given in this phase, in this meeting. Then any relationship between the document under review and other document is also explained. So in kickoff phase, if there is a document, say requirements document, if there is any related document for that requirements document, that relationship is also explained in this kickoff meeting. And if required, other documents are also details about other documents is also provided to the team that will be doing the review. And then distribution of the documents under review, source document, related document is also done. So it's not only that in kickoff you'll just explain that these are the documents and the related document, but you also distribute those documents, any related document. So in kickoff it's basically clarifying which documents needs to be reviewed, what are the related document, what are the related documents to that document, and everything is distributed before the actual review starts. Then role assignment, checking rates, pages to be checked is also discussed in this meeting. So who will play what role in review meeting, what will be the checking rate, number of pages to be checked per meeting. All these things are discussed in kickoff meeting. And then finally, entry criteria for review is also discussed. So in kickoff meeting, it is discussed, the entry criteria for the document is discussed, and if the document meets the entry criteria, it passes on to the next stage of the formal review process. So the next stage in formal review process is preparation. So what happens in preparation? So in preparation phase, participants work individually on the documents to identify defects, doubts, comments according to their understanding about document. So in preparation phase, so once kickoff meeting has been done, all the documents and related documents have been explained to the team, roles have been assigned, entry criteria has been met. So in preparation, everybody in the review team has all those documents. So in preparation phase, what everybody does is they review, they work individually on the documents. They start reviewing those documents individually and identify any issues or defects in the document, and then provide comment as per their understanding of the document. So that's the main purpose of the preparation phase. Then they record all the issues like spelling mistakes and annotate them in the document, which is provided to the to author after meeting ends. So they record everything that they see in any discrepancy that they see in the document, be it spelling mistake or any error. They just make a note of everything in the document, they annotate it in the document and provide it to the author after meeting ends. In this phase, participants should not try to exceed the checking rate of documents. So checking rate is decided in kickoff meeting. The reason for that is to ensure that everybody in the review team is paying proper attention to the document, to see that he reads all the things in the document properly and ensures that the document doesn't have much issues, or if there are issues, he is able to find those issues properly. If he'll try to rush through that document, he won't be able to find much issues because his checking rate, because of his checking rate, he won't be able to focus more or think more about the issues in the document. So usually the checking rate is 5 to 10 pages an hour. So participants should not try to exceed this rate or whatever rate has been decided in the kickoff meeting. So after preparation, the next phase is the actual review meeting. That's the fourth phase. So in review meeting, A review meeting typically consists of 3 phases. So in review meeting there are another 3 phases. So the first phase is the logging phase, second phase is the discussion phase, and third phase is decision phase. Let's understand these different phases of review meeting one by one. So logging phase. In logging phase, issues or defects that are identified by individuals in preparation phase, in previous phase, they are logged page by page, reviewer by reviewer, by either the author or the scribe. Scribe is nobody but who logs or who keeps a note of all the discussion that has been that is being done in review meeting. So most of the time it's the author who does this role, but sometimes it's good to have a scribe so that author can focus on other discussions that are being done in the review meeting. So in logging phase, one by one, based on the issues or defects found by the individuals, they are just logged. They are just logged on a paper. Then in logging phase there is no real discussion. Discussion doesn't happen in logging phase. It's just to make a note of all the issues or defects found. So no real discussion is allowed in this phase to make it more efficient, because if you'll start discussing the issues while you're logging it, it will take a lot of time to discuss those issues. So initially in logging phase, just note down all the issues first. So if issues required any discussion, then they are handled in discussion phase. That is another phase in the review meeting. Then every defect and the severity of the defect is logged in logging phase. And informal reviews may not have the logging phase. They can directly start with the discussion phase. So logging phase, if you are following a formal review process, then only logging phase is relevant. Otherwise, with most of the informal discussion, informal reviews, logging phase doesn't apply. You can directly go ahead with the discussion phase. So to conclude, in logging phase, it's just you log all the issues, defects on paper, and you don't discuss anything. You log defect severity based on individual findings. Then the next phase is discussion phase. In discussion phase, you discuss about the defects and issues. So discussion about defects and issues start in this phase. Once all the issues from all the individuals have been logged by the author or scribe, then discussion phase starts, wherein you start discussing the defects one by one. Participants bring forward their comments and reasoning about the issues that they have found in this phase. Then the role and responsibility of moderator is to prevent discussions from getting personal, because discussion should never get personal in the review meeting. Moderator also ensures that all the discussion items that have been noted down are being covered and have some sort of outcome. And if there is no outcome, he also notes down and shows there is a future action plan defined for those incomplete items. So once discussion for those issues has been done, then the third phase in review meeting is decision phase. So what happens in decision phase? In this phase, the decision on the documents under discussion is made based on the exit criteria. So in decision phase, after having all the discussion about defects and issues found in logging phase and discussion phase, after having all the discussion, then the document is the decision is being made for the document based on the exit criteria, whether that after the review meeting the document meets the exit criteria or not. So that final decision is made in the decision phase. If the document does not meet the exit criteria, then moderator decides that re-review needs to be done. If the document meets the exit criteria, then the document can be made as passed exit criteria. So these are the main 3 phases in review meeting. Then after review meeting, the next phase is the rework phase. So in rework, author improves the reviewed document based on the comments in review meeting. So whatever decision, whatever discussion has been made in the review meeting, in the discussion phase about the defects, in the rework phase, author works on those comments and tries to rectify the issues that are found in the document, that are discussed in the review meeting. Then the changes made by the author are re-reviewed in the follow-up phase. So after rework, there is a follow-up phase. So whatever changes are made by the author are again re-reviewed in the follow-up phase to ensure that the changes that author has made are fine. And then if author does nothing for the defect, then he indicates that he has considered the issue. So in case it is not possible for the author to incorporate all the comments and all the defects that have been discussed in review meeting, then he makes a note of it and indicates that he has considered the issue and he will rework on it in future. Then the final phase is the follow-up phase. So what happens in follow-up phase? In follow-up phase, all the changes made by the author in rework phase are re-reviewed in follow-up phase. So whatever changes have been discussed in review meetings, author does a rework on those changes, and then in follow-up phase, those rework that has been or those changes that are made by the author in rework phase are re-reviewed in the follow-up phase. So moderator is responsible for ensuring that action has been taken on all the logged issues. So it is the moderator's responsibility that whatever issues were discussed in review meeting are being action has been taken on those issues, and all the issues, all the defects have been taken care by the author in rework. Moderator also distributes the updated document to all the participants and collects feedback. So in follow-up phase, after rework has been done by the author, moderator checks the rework. If he finds that every issue has been updated, rectified by the author, he then distributes the updated document to all the participants, and then all the participants again provide their feedback and collects and moderator collects the feedback whether document is perfectly fine now or still requires some changes. So if it still requires some changes, it again goes to the same process again.